Real pleasure to have Russell Rothstein from IT Central Station. He is up in the tundra, somewhere in the Midwest. Hey, Russell, thanks for joining me. Look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Vinnie. It's great to be here. I really appreciate your joining us today. I'm the founder and CEO of IT Central Station. We're the leading review site for enterprise technology. And I'll be talking about predictions about the B2B technology buying process for 2021. What I hope to do is, by the end of this session today, provoke your thoughts a little bit, get you thinking about how the world's going to change in a very changing world, and some of the trends that I'm seeing in the B2B technology space that's going on. So let's get started. IT Central Station back in 2012. It's now been 8.5 years. And when we launched, the Wall Street Journal called us the Yelp for IT, or the Yelp for enterprise tech. And that was a great one-sentence elevator pitch that really described the fact that IT Central Station is about leveraging the power of the voice of real users, crowdsourced knowledge to help enterprise tech buyers make a better decision. Just like TripAdvisor has influenced the way I make a decision about what hotel to stay at. I know people use Glassdoor all the time when they're checking out what companies to work for. Yelp obviously is really important for local businesses. And so when myself and my co-founder started IT Central Station, it was recognizing the fact that enterprise tech buyers really needed a place where they can go and find trusted content from their peers. And at the time, there was no review sites out there. We were the first review site out there for enterprise tech. We built the strongest review site that's focused on the enterprise technology market. And that's what we do. So that's my background. I'm an enterprise technology guy, even from when I started. Before I started IT Central Station, I've been in enterprise tech my entire career. And we're really excited the fact that we've got now 450,000 registered users, members of IT Central Station across areas of cybersecurity, DevOps, IT management, and other key areas of enterprise technology, actively using the reviews on IT Central Station in order to help them in the buying process. And the best thing is that for buyers of technology, people doing those comparisons, trying to build their shortlists, it's all free. It's all free to use, to consume, and also to contribute back to the community.
Thank you, Russell.
Sure. So first of all, predictions can be very dangerous, tenuous in today's market. Here we are in January 2021, and a year ago, the world changed for many of us. The market changed significantly in 2020. So any predictions that you might have heard in January 2020 for 2020 might not likely have come to fruition. Similarly, as it says here, when I was sitting in my office back in 2015 asking job candidates, so where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? We can all bet that everyone who answered that question was probably wrong. We wouldn't expect where we were in 2020. So having said that, predictions can be tricky business, but I'm happy to share with you my thoughts of the B2B technology industry. It's a very dynamic industry. There's a lot changing now. It's a very exciting time to be in the enterprise tech space.
It is. Russell,
so here are some of the things that I'm thinking about.
Russell, I was at Gartner 95 to 2000. And back then, Gartner was modest enough to put a probability to its forecasts, right? We'd say 0.2 probability, 0.5 probability. They moved away from probabilities. After 2020, they probably need to go back to
that. And definitely need to put confidence as well, bands across that as well, because definitely black swans are something that continue to happen in the world. We'll go through the predictions and we'll end up with sort of next steps. Let's jump right into it. So my first prediction for 2021 is that it's going to be the year of buyer intent. And buyer intent is a big buzzword these days. And first, let's get into the background about why that's happening. And these are all trends that have accelerated due to COVID, due to working from home, due to the change in the market. 70% of the buyer's journey takes place online before a vendor is engaged with. And that's research from Forrester. And again, this was research actually from before COVID. So I've seen research that says it's even above 80% of the buyer's journey happens before engaging with a vendor. And the number one most trusted source of content is peers. If you look at trends in the market, people are more and more disillusioned with experts. People are more and more disillusioned with analysts. We'll get to that in a future, one of my upcoming predictions. But what they're most looking for is trusted content from peers. Yep. And so the intent of buyer is going to just accelerate that. And more buying decisions are influenced from peers. So buyer intent, what does buyer intent mean? And I guess one way to look at it is, we've all been to trade shows. I know it's been a long time. I miss them, right? We've all been to the big trade shows, whether it's AWS, whether it's RSA, whether it's Oracle World, pick your Dreamforce, pick your favorite conference that you haven't been to this year. And as you know, in those exhibit halls, there's those people walking through, and there's some people who are just going there to pick up the swag, pick up the t-shirt, get the gift, the giveaway. And then there's people in there who are actually there to get a demo, who are looking to research products for their business. And that's the difference between buyer intent, as identifying those people who are actually in the buying process, not just people who are browsing, who don't have either a budget, don't have an intention, don't have the authority to make a purchase, but those people who are representing budget for their organization. And COVID has accelerated this move towards buyer intent. So there's a lot of noise in the market about buyer intent. There's companies who just do buyer intent now. One of the top IPOs of 2020 was ZoomInfo, which is also in the buyer intent data space for all of B2B. There's a lot of companies that are moving into buyer intent. And then obviously a review site is the highest form of buyer intent, because people reading reviews are those people who are very likely to be in a buying process. If you're reading a review of a complex cybersecurity solution, some type of DevOps solution, it's very likely that you're doing that in order to help make a buying decision for your organization. It's not like you're doing it just for fun. And so buyer intent has become a major theme for 2021. The next prediction is about the fact that there are old established players in the market. And Vinnie, you and I have been around for a while. So we're familiar with these traditional tech publishers, the IDGs of the world, the Ziff Davises of the world. There's the CNETs of the world. There's Quinn Streets of the world. There are all these traditional tech publishers out there. And I remember the days when I get subscribed to their trade mags, arrive in the mail every week. My edition, 100 pages of Information Week or Information World or CIO or what have you. And I page through it, and I know it's a valuable source of information. And just like any publisher, these companies have moved online, right? They've all cut their print publications. So we've seen outside of the B2B space that those traditional publishers, take Time Magazine, take Life Magazine, take all of these magazines, many of them have significantly struggled to find a compelling business model in the new world. And the traditional tech publishers are at that same place today, where they've got great brand recognition, but there's some definitely disconnects with their model. And so M&A is a way for them to fix that. So we've seen the early signs of that last year, and that's just going to accelerate. IDG made an acquisition, Ziff Davis made acquisitions, TechTarget made acquisitions, and we're going to continue to see that in order for tech publishers to stay more relevant in the market. If you look at the capitalization, if you look at what the markets are saying, TechTarget has performed very well. They're the one that actually came with the least amount of traditional baggage of a print publication. They already started out being all online. And so they benefited from that, having that more newer online mentality. But it's going to be a really interesting year in 2021 to see how these tech publishers evolve and if they can stay relevant.
Russell, one thing, I like you say, we've been around a while. So I came from Gartner, a lot of print stuff, then started blogging 15 years ago. Last year, I moved heavily into video. So I launched 4 different series. This is one of them, Analyst Cam. I uploaded in 8 months, 3,000 minutes to my company's YouTube channel. Whole bunch of executive interviews, whole bunch of analyst conversations and so on. So I think that is going to be the next generation of information sharing also.
Video, B2B video.
Yep.
Yes, a huge potential in B2B video, but it has to be valuable content. If we're just taking commercials, TV commercials and infomercials, that's not where there's appetite, right?
I interviewed in one of the series, I interviewed 75 C-level executives. Because I thought, let me take a shot. They probably have a little more time on their hand, and I was right. And then I said, "Can I record you and share this with the world?" And surprisingly, they said, "Sure." So that was like a huge swing in how difficult it is to get to executives. I've written 7 books and 300 case studies. Those take long time for approvals and so on. This thing was, they would agree. I would send them a list of questions, interview them. Next day it would be published, right? So we're moving to that very, very time shortened kind of.
Exactly. Exactly. And Vinnie, the video provides that sort of instant connection with the person that you don't get in text. And podcasts work that way too. Podcasts are also very valuable, but video, you get to see the person, get to hear from the person, you get to see their body gestures, you see their eye contact, all that's hugely valuable. And that's what we've seen, a growth in video reviews of real users. So real users talking about the products that they're using, even more compelling on top of the text that they're writing.
And even more creative. I've had executives talk to me from their man caves. Some of them have had great Zoom backgrounds, and makes it just more easy to consume.
More real, real, easy to consume. Absolutely. Prediction number 3. 2021 is going to be the final death blow for low quality lead suppliers. It's accelerated by COVID. And this has been a trend that's been happening over the last few years, but it's just any interest in low quality lead suppliers really is falling dramatically now, because what's happened in COVID is there are fewer buyers, there are fewer companies buying technology. Yes, we're fortunate working in the tech industry that overall the tech industry was least affected by COVID, and many areas there's growth, and we've been fortunate to have significant growth, but there's a lot of companies who are in, let's say, the travel industry, hospitality industry, some types of retail that are just buying less and less technology. So the low quality, meaning just names of people who once bought something, but are not necessarily showing that buyer intent today, or having contact details that are not valuable, not fresh data, not your own first party data, all of that is falling by the wayside. And as they say that when the tide comes out, you see who's swimming without any clothes. Well, it's those low quality lead suppliers that are ones without clothes, and the tide has come in.
Also, what I've seen is the more mainstream vendors actually slowed down, but there's a lot of boutique vendors, especially in verticals, right? So telemedicine, PPP loan processing and financial services, e-commerce, automated fulfillment, distance learning in higher education. A lot of niche products were extremely hot. So they will be looking for leads, but very, very verticalized, right? The bigger vendors trying to sell the traditional ERP, traditional financials and so on, probably will not be looking for leads as much.
Yeah, you've got to modernize your technology, and you've got to modernize your data, both of them, right? There's all this about digital transformation and modernization. You can modernize and transform your systems. If your data isn't modernized, if it's not up to date, it doesn't matter what your systems are.
Yep.
So I talked about trade shows earlier, and I'm going to make a prediction that the first major in-person B2B tech industry event is going to be AWS reInvent at the end of 2021. I know we're all itching to get back to the event world. Of course, maybe less travel is, I've learned, I like to slow down my travel compared to what I was doing before COVID, but still, it's so important to go to industry events. It's important to meet people, and some events will come back. Yeah. I believe that reInvent will be the first major industry event where we go, and Amazon will do that because Amazon has built a lot of expertise about building safe, COVID-free environments.
Sure.
Project Ultraviolet, if you're not familiar with it, is an internal project at Amazon, somewhat secretive, where over 100,000 Amazon employees who are either in the warehouse, in supply chain, are being monitored and tested actively and protected to keep that COVID free. And we've all benefited by the fact that we continue to get our Amazon deliveries uninterrupted during this entire COVID period. And so Amazon not only has developed expertise in protecting, monitoring from COVID environment, but has done that at a mass scale and be able to project a program that's all about safety, health, and trust. And there's going to be not only health issues, but there's always going to be, before we take that first flight to go to that first event, there's now a psychological aspect. We haven't been doing that for a long time. And we have to have that trust. We have to have that feeling. And I think only a company like Amazon will be able to gain our trust that can pull off an event that's COVID free.
In the meantime, I see two things are going to happen. One is the quality of online events is going to significantly improve. I know a couple of vendors that are bringing in Hollywood and TV production quality talent to make their productions a lot more lively, right? Rather than just taking the old format and putting it in video format. And the other thing, I don't know if Amazon's planning on this, but Apple with their 12 launch is just making outdoors videography, just taking it to the next level. So I think you'll see a lot more vendors use that and bring that to their events, even if we cannot get there. They'll bring much more of the outdoors in. Otherwise, it's a very cooped up kind of feeling that you get in events these days. So I think both the physical side, when Amazon, like you say, changes it, and the virtual one, events are just changing very, very dramatically.
Absolutely. Hybrid events, I think, are going to be with us for the long term.
But the quality is going to improve significantly.
Yep. So Vinnie, I know that you have an analyst background, and I know that many of your readership have analyst backgrounds. So my next prediction is going to be somewhat controversial here, but that's why I always, an analyst says always bring data. So I was sure to bring data for this one, Vinnie. And that is that 2021 is the year that the analyst bubble will pop. And there's continues to be, if you look at, first of all, let's look at the data here. This is data from a new report by LinkedIn. This came out just this month, the LinkedIn B2B Technology Buying Survey. You can find it on LinkedIn. And it talks about where do you go to increase your knowledge about technology products. And as you can see, peer reviews and peer content comes in #1, the top most sought after content. And analyst reports are down #6 in the list. They're not going to zero. I don't see them going to zero. I think they'll always be a place for analysts in the tech buying community. But what we're seeing is that, look at the new generation of technology buyers, the new IT managers, the new CIOs, the new CTOs, who are not only Generation X, but soon to be millennials.
Sure. And
these people are not looking to get analyst subscriptions and read analyst reports. They want to tap into online reviews. They want to tap into their peers. And so first of all, it's not surprising. We've seen Gartner launched its own review site. Gartner made a few acquisitions in this space. But there's definitely a inflection point that's happening now. And the analyst community is going to need to adapt to it.
Russell, I could have told you this 20 years ago. I left Gartner in 2000. I started blogging in 2004. I've written 7 books, and now I've got a video channel, right? So it's a constant case of evolution. But so part of my role is not just as an analyst, but as an advisor. In the end, customers want advice, customized conversations or small projects. So if you're not willing to evolve, if you just want to write reports, this has been happening for a while.
Yeah. And we'll wrap up with my sixth prediction here is that the US at the federal level will pass major data privacy regulation. And that regulation is going to put companies at risk that don't own their own data. Obviously, you've got CCPA in California and other states
Sure.
that have already passed their own state-based regulation.
And you got
I think that the elections might have been the last.
You got European GDPR, and these trends.
Exactly. And I think honestly, the U.S. has to exhibit leadership here, whereas Europe took leadership with passing GDPR first. But the fact is, after what we've gone through in 2020, and after the elections, and after everything that's happened, the fact that big tech can't continue to work unchecked. There needs to be more regulation in the market, and privacy. Privacy is one piece of that. And we're not going to get into the anti-competitive and other areas. I'm just talking about data privacy regulation and how that's going to affect the B2B tech buying space. And so that data privacy regulation is going to have implications for companies that are in the technology selling market, that are in the data about the lead generation market, the data market. And those companies that don't own their own data are going to find themselves crowded out of the market due to these new regulations.
Russell, I would not disagree, but I think, having been in the industry a long time, in the end, it comes down to marketing, right? Marketers want a lot of information about us, and the current digital model is giving them way more information than they ever had. So till they are willing to walk away from that model, all these privacy requirements will be nice, but they won't have much teeth. I like to tell people, if you're really serious, why have we not killed the Nigerian spam market? Why have we not killed the robocalling market, right? The politicians Probably the worst abuse is robocalling, right? Why have we not killed traditional irritating marketing practices? Not like we haven't complained and complained, it still goes on. So I'm not as, this is what would be nice, but I'm not that confident it'll happen anytime soon. So,
okay,
one
we will see.
One area where I may disagree with your prediction.
Okay. We've talked about IT Central Station, and so I really would like to end here on a bonus prediction, my last prediction here, and it's really more a hope, a wish that 2021 will be better than 2020. We've all lived through, we're living through a pandemic. We lived through a time where it's been rough on our families, on our children, on our parents, on our grandparents. In some industries, it's been tougher than in tech.
Sure.
And my prediction and hope and wish for all of us is that 2020 will be a better year than 2020.
Russell, that is very good sentiment. I would only say 2020 wasn't bad. You know, like I mentioned earlier, I did so many hours of interviews, and I heard from all, I call it business acrobatics, all kinds of heroics that happened in the last year. So, you know, to me, 2020, in all the doom and gloom, actually led to a lot of innovation, a lot of positive energy. We just didn't hear much about it in the media, which was focused on the doom and gloom. So, I hope we continue the momentum, the positive momentum we already had in 2020. But your sentiment is absolutely right. You know, a lot of people, it was a tough year. Politically, it was tough. You know, obviously, all the losing your friends and family was tough. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it's similarly, Vinnie, we at IT Central Station were fortunate to have our best year ever, 2020. We had record sales. We currently have a number of openings. We're hiring. We're growing. We've brought on more customers. We've increased all of our core metrics.
Congratulations.
But you know, I think one of the things also that I've seen is greater responsibility for those of us in the tech industry towards the global market. As tech becomes more dominant across all these industries, is our responsibility as leaders, as entrepreneurs, to take a role in helping make 2021 a success, like you said, Vinnie.
Amen to that.
Thank you for your time, Vinnie. Really appreciate it.
Russell, thank you for coming on. Look forward to getting periodic briefings from you every few months.
Good. And if anyone would like to reach me, please do reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Twitter. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to connect with you. And if you want to check out our review site, it's itcentralstation.com.